Okay, nice and clean. Gives you some surfaces to deal with. We've only got 2 layers now, canopy and this layer. Right? You know, I like doing it that way. It's okay, but then I actually prefer to duplicate the model. I think Glenn Southern was talking about this one. You duplicate the model like this, and then what I do is I go back to the original. I paint the section I want, like a primer blue or something. So let's say I paint this section here, sort of mark it up with section. So mark it up. Cool. And then I go to the other one, the second one, and I basically just ruthlessly delete everything except for that canopy. Oh no, sorry. I just delete the canopy from one to the other. Yeah. So this one, yeah, nope, that's not it. It doesn't take long. Not in medium. Nothing takes long in medium. Check it. Turn that off. Okay, get rid of that. Oh. Oh my god. Okay, so technically I want to cut the original with the blue, so cut around the blue. I can hide the second shape, cut the blue, also gives you a bit of an opportunity to take the design and you can hollow out the interior like this if you want. See how far you want to go with it. Yeah. So like that and that. And I'll bring back the other one. And then now what this means is that we can go to this one and that you can notice that there's a little bit of color or flickering, which is helpful, but I wish that we don't have transparency in medium, so it's all good. And here, and turn that back. Now, if we turn off this, we can go in here, neaten this up, and you know, this allows you to build seats and stuff and interiors in this section as well. Yeah. So the new tools are just amazing. I mean, grid and angle is cool, but I mean, I basically at the moment I've been using steady stroke and plane, and steady stroke and plane allows me to go into this like super cool technique where you can just build. And it also, you can jump into the, you know, surfacing the detail of the couch or the couch, the cockpit seat as well, like that, straight in. You don't have to worry if it's not the scale because, you know, we all know what the move tool can do. 25, 27, whatever. Oh, again, active layer only. Bring that in. Find your shape. You'll lose detail, but that's fine. So find your shape. And resculpt this later. Another. That's it. Legs. And, you know, I even build off this, and build some of the design for the controls. There's no rules. No rules in medium. Build a happy seat. Okay. So you've got yourself a design like that, and then you've got a canopy, right? So we'll name canopy here. Rename canopy. And this one, ship. And then this one is seat, because we just did it anyway. Seat. Okay, so what we have at the moment is we have a canopy, and in the canopy we want to say translate or rotate the canopy. Now at the moment the pivot point is on the export transform. You see what the export transform is? Nope. 1 second, sorry. We go back to the canopy, we rotate it. Its pivot point is its pivot point is on a world transform, which is it's on its world transform. The gimbal for that is there. The gimbal, the locator for that is there. So if we moved its pivot point up and down, see, and what happens is because I'm working on an angle, you're getting some strange. Well, it's on world axis here, but then its pivot point is on the sculpt axis. So if we now go back to here and then center the sculpt on the lathe, what we have then is a canopy transform that's happening there. And if we want to change its orientation or position for its transform, we could play with that gimbal there, and then you'd think, oh, okay, I could rotate it. Well, hang on, to turn that off. You could play with the transform, you know, and open and shut the canopy, but you can't, because it's actually on a sculpt transform orientation. It's on the sculpt's locator, as you might say. So to get around that, we'll turn off the export transform. What we will do is we'll add bring the canopy out, add a transform up here, out of world, and bring this into sculpt. And now we have a transform. Now that transform at the moment is, if we see, is here. And that's going to be associated with that because it's parented underneath it. Now, if we want to change that position of the transform, take this back out, move the transform into place, which is just like, you know, you would adjust a locator or a pivot point on anything. We put this point to here, like that. So that's where we want it to open. We can check that the pivot point is in its right position. And then we then parent that onto that, and then we can open and shut. Not at all. We're not actually transforming the model, we're transforming that. So what happened then was I had my selection on the canopy and I was trying to rotate the canopy, and that's related to the world pivot. But we want to use the transform to open and shut the canopy like that, right? So now you have an open and shut canopy design that could be, you know, utilized, or it can actually even be helpful in the fact that you may want to just, you know, keep working in such a way where you're not you can't, go inside the model and underneath the canopy and try and cut it out. You've got a way of visualizing what's going on with the canopy. So we can go through and cut that out. It's pretty fine model. So awesome. So that's using like a transform pivot technique to rotate. Now, good point there is that we're just on world with the transform, but if we switch it to sculpt, we can actually follow the mirror plane around the space as well, without having to recenter it to the lathe. That's cool. That's a good way to do it. I mean, best practice, that should work. Might get into some issues of sorts. It seems like it's jumped from its original position because my transform, hang on, let's bring it back to here. Just center. Now, yeah, it looks like it's moved, but maybe that's because I'm not thinking about it properly. Oh, world. Yeah, it snapped to its transform. That sounds like it's a legit thing there. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a visualization thing. It allows you to do it. It's somehow it's moved up here, but I know why. Why has it done that? Oh my God. Jesus. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So, bit of a rundown on transform pivots and things like that. I think that if you've worked in applications like Maya and things like that, this kind of stuff isn't new. It's like it's all second nature to me. But working in Medium, it's a little bit of a, it's not a new thing. It's a very helpful thing. Don't worry about that. I think it's amazing that all these transform options are in here. But why you need to use them and how you use them is an important thing. And especially when you're exporting things out to things like ZBrush, you want to make sure that your model's, in a mirror zero space, not zero space itself. The zero space is helpful, for sure. And I've had to mirror things by hand, like actually find the mirror point by hand in ZBrush, and that's not difficult, but it's not ideal. So we'll save this, and we'll export this to ZBrush. Quick 3. This is quick 3 export. Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks for watching this, and hope it's helped. If you have any questions, let me know. I don't mind answering any questions about technique and design and whatever. And like I said, if you center your model on the lathe in Medium, I think you'll find that the startup crashes where it's stuck in a transform, the transform's gone all crazy. I think you'll find that that won't happen if you save in the central space of your lathe and center it into the mirror plane. It's just like a clean, it's like a bit of housekeeping, as you might say. That's kind of a good place to keep everything when you quit, because when you come back in, you can work in that sense. I think it's got to do with that maybe Medium's getting double transforms when it's trying to save in groups and things like that. Like that which I was reading recently, is that's considered as a group, and it is. I did yesterday find a way of getting a transform. Oh, you can get a transform out of the sculpt into the world, but you can't get a sculpt out of the sculpt into the world. So yeah, anyway, don't worry about that. Cool. Hope it helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, awesome.